Hello, this is SCLC TV. We come to you with heavy hearts today. The passing of one of SCLC's legendary first ladies and icons, Miss Juanita Abernathy. Of course, this is our president and CEO, Dr. Charles Steele Jr. I'm Maynard Eaton, but Dr. Steele, you have a heavy heart because you knew Mrs. Juanita Abernathy well.
Absolutely, a great lady. I was just reminiscing with you, Maynard, in terms of my getting to know Mrs. Abernathy, and what I really respect her for is that when I was talking with my wife, I said, we need someone that can really tell the story. In case you didn't know it, she could tell the story. She knew how to tell and testify to the civil rights movement.
She was there.
She was right in the middle of it, and one of the decision makers. But I asked her to come to Washington, D.C. immediately after President Barack Obama won his first election. And I told her we were going to do an inaugural weekend in due respect for the civil rights movement, as well as President Barack Obama being elected. She immediately said, Charles, what you want me to do? I said, I want you to be our keynote. She and Reverend Jesse Jackson Dottie Peoples for our gospel singer. Man, talking about Mahalia Jackson, Dottie Peoples, the legendary in her own right, Mrs. Abernathy, who's very articulate in what she delivered throughout the civil rights movement. That's something that was close to me, and she never stopped telling me, Charles, I appreciate that.
But in all the interviews I've done with her, and you could have attested this too, she was straightforward. She didn't bite her tongue about injustices against her or her family, or she just, by the last time I talked to her, she said, you don't remember, I used to be a teacher, but they wouldn't let me teach.
That's right. And the last time you talked to her too, man, maybe a few months ago, right at a year or less than a year, you said she supported SCLC and about how the accomplishment of SCLC, with the exception of Brown versus Board of Education. You did an article on that. She said it was SCLC, and many people forget that it was SCLC that brought about the freedom and justice and equality for the whole world.
But she was the first lady of SCLC.
That's right.
Much like your wife is now, much like your wife's going to write about in our next issue of SCLC magazine.
Absolutely. And people don't understand the significance of having strong women involved, particularly then. Even with Ms. Rosa Parks, she was involved, and my wife was just mentioned this the other day when she talked to in Detroit. We used to be around Ms. Parks, Rosa Parks, all the time with Dr. Joseph Lowry and the civil rights movement in our convention. So Ms. Parks looked up at her and said, honey, I was no way tired. She said, I was just standing up for what was right.
But largely, black women like Mrs. King, Mrs. Abernathy, Rosa Parks, and others were strong stalwarts in their own right, but given little credit back in the day.
Absolutely. They were the integral part of bringing the glue together to keep the movement going. Back then, we as men, I was a teenager, but we as men even today must be sensitive to the fact that you must always be inclusive. Not standing behind us as women and our spouses, but standing beside us and sometimes in front of us, because they have the courageousness and the ability. So you shouldn't be intensified of the fact that they are females and the gender shouldn't matter. It's about the courageousness of people standing for what's right. One thing I discovered, Ms. E, people don't want to hear what's right. And most women who are in leadership roles will tell you.
She's certainly one of them.
She was one of them, absolutely.
We use these words lightly, a shero, a legend. She kind of lived up to all that, did she not?
She was all of the leadership, inclusiveness of any individual. I remember I was talking to her once when she was saying about racism is embedded within our system. And she was an educator.
Yes.
Educator. And she came to Atlanta and she told me this herself, that she couldn't get a teaching job because of racism. She wasn't light enough. And that
plus he's involved in the civil rights movement.
and she had 2 strikes against her: the civil rights movement, and she was dark skinned. Back then you had to pass the brown bag test, even in some colleges. Oh my Lord! Don't forget your history, because you're destined to repeat it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we talked about Miss Juanita Abernathy, just passed this week. Her funeral is coming Monday. We'll probably chat about her again on our next SCLC TV show, but we wanted to say, give our due diligence to a woman who made a big difference in America, the civil rights movement, and for black women around the world. Miss Juanita Abernathy. See you next week.